Welcome back. This episode is specifically for parents. If you have a child who is already studying in Melbourne or they're coming here in a year or two, this might be one of the most financially important videos you watch this year about property investment in Australia. I want to talk to you about the real cost of renting versus buying, why the current window is genuinely unusual, and what the numbers actually look like when you put it all together. And I want to do it honestly, including the costs that some other agents or websites don't tell you. Let's start with something most parents don't fully add up. The average international student in Melbourne spends somewhere between 1,200 to 2,800 Australian dollars a month on accommodation, depending on where they live and what type of property. Let's take a middle figure, let's say 1,800 a month. Over a 3-year bachelor's degree, that's $64,800. Over 4 years, that's $86,400. Now, the key question at the end of those 4 years, what do you own? Nothing. That money is gone, you pay towards someone else's mortgage. Now imagine instead that if you had purchased a 2-bedroom apartment with good access to campus 4 years ago, your child lives in 1-bedroom, a housemate or maybe another fellow Malaysian or Singaporean student pays rent for the second room, that rental income offsets the large portion of your mortgage repayment. And at the end of the 4 years, you still own an asset that has grown in value, hopefully. And that's not hypothetical. That's exactly what many of our clients have done in the past. And the ones who did it like 5 years ago are very happy with that decision today. Let me give you another piece of context that matters a lot for families. Melbourne's rental vacancy rate is sitting at around 2% or lower currently. It's below what a balanced market should be. And this creates competition amongst tenants. And for purpose-built student accommodation, the shortage is even more severe. What this means practically is that your child arriving in Melbourne without accommodation sorted is a real problem. Competing for rentals at the last minute, especially in suburbs near the university or good access to universities like Monash, RMIT, Melbourne Uni, is stressful and expensive. If you own a property, that problem goes away entirely. Now, I need to explain something that many overseas buyers don't fully understand. Foreigners are not allowed to buy established residential properties in Australia, or you may call them second-hand properties. However, new apartments, new townhouses, off-the-plan properties, these are fully available to foreign buyers. And in many ways, new properties are actually better buy for families in your situation. Here's why that matters specifically right now. The Victorian government has a temporary stamp duty concession for off-the-plan apartments, townhouses and units, but it only applies to contracts signed before October 2026. That window is closing. New builds also come with builders' warranties, lower maintenance risk for overseas owners. Newer apartments in high-demand location or near university tend to attract strong rental demand, both for the room your child isn't using and for the full property once your child graduates. New properties also generally have lower site values in the early years, which means lower land tax exposure for foreign owners. I want to be upfront about this because I think the worst thing an agent can do is to let you be surprised by the cost you didn't budget for. As a foreign buyer in Victoria, you will pay stamp duty, the same as any local buyers. The foreigner purchase additional duty, currently 8% of the property's purchase price, on top of stamp duty. On the $700,000 apartment, that's an additional $56,000. FIRB approval. You have to apply for FIRB approval, and the fee starts from $15,100 for property up to $1 million. These are real costs. I won't minimize them, but here's the reframe. Compare those one-time costs against 4 years of rent, 80 grand to 100 grand per child, that you will never see again, and compare that against the capital growth you would capture on that property. The numbers, when you lay them out side by side, tend to make upfront costs feel very different. There's another strategy worth mentioning, and this is something I see more and more of. Parents buy a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment with good access to campus. Their child lives in the main bedroom, 1 or 2 housemates, other students pay rent. That rental incomes typically range from about $1,000 to $1,400 a month in inner Melbourne, which directly offset the mortgage. When the child graduates, parents have few options to sell the property, hopefully at a meaningful gain, keep it as a pure investment rental, or hold it if there are other children coming behind. It turns a tuition adjacent cost into a wealth building strategy. There's one more factor I want to share with you, and it's one that many people overlook entirely, but it makes the financial case even more compelling. However, this is not financial advice, and I encourage you to verify the information with trusted sources. Right now, the Australian dollar is weak, and for families earning and saving in Malaysian dollars or Singapore dollars, that means Australian property is cheaper than it has been in years. Not just because of Melbourne's property cycle, but because of the currency itself. Over the past decade, the AUD has declined around 14% against the ringgit from its high. The exchange rate peaked around 2.98 ringgit not long ago. Today it sits around 2.72 to 2.75 ringgit. From the longer term peak near 3.43 ringgit, this is a discount of close to 20% for a lot of buyers. What this means in real terms: a Melbourne apartment price at $700,000 today costs approximately 1.92 million ringgit. At a historical peak exchange rate, the same apartment will cost over 2.4 million ringgit. You are getting the same asset at a significant discount before property prices even move. For Singapore-based families, forecasts suggest the AUD against ringgit rate will gradually recover towards 2.84 to 2.9 ringgit through 2026 as Australian economic fundamentals improve. So what does that mean for you? If you buy now at today's exchange rate and the AUD appreciates as forecast, you capture a double return. The property grows in value in Australian dollar terms, and your investment grows in ringgit or Singapore dollar terms simply because the currency moved in your favor. The currency does some of the work for you even before the property prices move. And if you wait, you may find yourself buying the same Melbourne apartment at a higher Australian dollar, meaning it costs you more in your home currency before you even factor in where the property prices have moved to. If your child is already here or arriving in the next year or two, my advice is clear. The window you have right now is genuinely one of the better ones in recent years. You have Melbourne at the bottom of its property cycle, KPMG calling it the top growth city for 2026. A stamp duty concession on off-the-plan properties that expires October 2026. New dwellings still available to foreign buyers despite the established dwelling ban. A tight rental market that makes property ownership even more valuable as a security asset. The Australian dollar at a multi-year low against both ringgit and Singapore dollars, with economists forecasting a recovery. Every month you delay, the currency window narrows. This is not a situation where I would say wait and see. For families, the risk of waiting is real, financially, practically, and now in currency terms too. If you'd like to understand exactly what's available in the suburbs near your child's university, and what your numbers will look like, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You can book a no obligation discovery call with our team through the link provided below.